Hi everybody, Angela Bizak here. Today we're going to be discussing the 2018 Lady Gaga Bradley Cooper film, A Star is Born. I couldn't resist taking the opportunity to review an incredible musician-based movie. The last time I was this excited about a film of this caliber is when Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon released Walk the Line back in 2005. Musician-based movies come out every single year, but it's rare that the level of chemistry that Gaga and Cooper achieved in A Star is Born is reached. It's simply one of those connections that is just written in the stars. It's one of those movies where you walk out and you're just like, these two have to be together, they have to be married, they just can't not be. And Gaga and Cooper's ability to identify with their characters, to connect to one another, and bring the story to life is pure magic. Before I go into the movie any further, I wanted to share a little bit of my own personal journey with Lady Gaga, how I came to know her and appreciate her and fully embrace who she was as an artist. When Lady Gaga first came onto the music scene, I was already full-fledged adulting and had really bypassed my time of following every pop culture icon that came along. So for me, the way that new artists find their way into my life is essentially through other people. My family, my friends, other musicians I know, musicians I teach, musicians I work with, that kind of thing. And they'll just be like, hey, check out this new artist, check out this new album, whatever, I think you'll be interested in this. And that's essentially how new artists now come into my life. So for Gaga in particular, I of course knew who she was, love her or hate her. I think you'd have to live under a rock to not know she was around. She's just, she's an artist who's hard to ignore. She's huge into the theatrics, into the costumes, into being unconventional. I think she wore a literal suit of meat to the MTV Music Awards one year. And so, did I know who she is? Yes, of course I did. But did I follow her and know her music at that point? Absolutely not. She was really just kind of over here in my universe. So all that being said, there were a number of instances over the next couple of years where she was brought into my life. The first time I can remember was back in 2017, and I was teaching a senior in high school at that time named Sydney, and she said, you have to watch the 2017 Lady Gaga halftime show. And, and I was kind of like, yeah, kind of thing, which she accurately interpreted as, I won't be watching that. And so she came back at me and she said, fine, if you're not going to watch it, but at least go back and watch her sing the national anthem, which she had done previously at the halftime show the year before. And so to make a long story short, I didn't watch either. And it's no offense to Sydney, I just don't always take my teenager music recommendations that I get, and I get a lot of them. But what did stand out in my mind at the time was simply that she was so passionate about Gaga, and she's just like, you have to watch her, you have to check her out, she's so good, yada yada. So it really stood out in my mind, and she wasn't a student who typically jumped on every pop culture bandwagon that came along. So yeah, this was the first time that Lady Gaga really presented herself in my life. The next time Lady Gaga came into my life was again by chance. I happened to hear her song Born This Way, and it captured my attention enough that I later purchased it on iTunes, only to realize it was by her. And this isn't necessarily a song I would jam out to by myself, but I'm always on the lookout for powerhouse, high energy dance tunes that I can use with my show group girls in the studio, because we're always creating new singing and dancing routines for every season. So, I love the beat, I love the lyrics, I love the message for the girls, and again, it was just Lady Gaga coming a little closer into my universe. And then later this year, our family started to binge watch Glee on Netflix. This was ironically a show I had never seen before. And a lot of times on Glee, the cast will pay tribute to an artist or a band that's really big on the pop music scene. Of course, they dedicated an episode to Gaga, and again, she just really stood out to me. The characters mimicked several of the costumes Gaga had worn over the past several years. They were definitely edgy and stood out in a way that no other artist had on the show. And I couldn't help but think, dang, this would look really good on our stage. So by the time A Star Was Born was released, my interest in Gaga had already been tapped, and I had mentioned to one of my friends that I was going to be taking my husband Jim out to dinner and a movie for his birthday, and her first response was, "Are you going to go see A Star Is Born?" Now, I hadn't even heard of the movie at the time. She was talking to me a little bit about it and was saying it was an old remake of a Judy Garland film, and just said, check out the trailer and see what you think. And so I did, and I was totally sold. And the only problem I really had was that traditionally on Jim's birthday, we go and we see, a man movie. So this is like Star Wars or a Western or like a Quentin Tarantino film. And I didn't know how I was going to convince my husband to trash the man movie for A Star is Born. I tried selling it to him on the basis of a love story, and how can a movie like this not like rekindle our romance? I'm not really sure that he went for it, but we did end up seeing it that weekend in October. So after I saw A Star is Born, that was it for me. I was totally obsessed with Gaga, and I never turned back, and I made sure everyone I talked to knew about it. And then about a month later, it was just really funny because we were all at Thanksgiving at my mom and dad's, and the subject of Lady Gaga came up. Not by me, believe it or not. So everyone's there, from about age like 2 to age 70, and the whole room just erupts in like, I love her so much, I'm so obsessed with her, she's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And it was just so crazy to me because everyone at the table was saying it, and the women mostly, but it was like everyone from the 16-year-old to the 10-year-old to the 37-year-old to the 62-year-old, and I was just so blown away by the age range that was inspired by her music. I think she's just an artist that can really transcend generations. She's really timeless, and I think that's really when I realized there's so much more to her than the hair and the makeup and the theatrics. And she's really an artist who, she has something to say. She has a message she's trying to bring across, and she's doing it. She's living her truth. So today, I'm going to give you some backstory to the movie. I won't give anything away or ruin the movie or anything for you, so if you haven't seen it, you don't need to worry about that. But I simply just want to inspire you to go and check it out because it is well worth the viewing time, or if you've already seen it, just give you a couple more things to check out later on in the video. The film was originally made in 1937 and would be recreated 4 more times to its current 2018 version. The film was remade as a musical in 1954, starring James Mason and Judy Garland. It'd be recreated again in 1976 as a rock musical, starring Barbra Streisand and Kristofferson, and this particular version is the closest one to the one we see today. In 2013, a Bollywood romance adaptation would be made, and again in 2018, Gaga and Cooper would present their take on the story. Now, I think everyone would agree when a film is redone like again and again and again, there's definitely, there's a good story there. There's a timeless story, a story that regardless of the generation you grew up in, can touch your heart with its message. I do think that really what made this film, wildly popular, made it what it is for me, made it for others who are close to me, was ultimately the deeper moral issues behind the movie and the cast's ability to identify with their characters. The film talks about things that every single person has had to deal with in their lives. Themes of love, of loss, of addiction, of struggle, of what it means to truly be human. Gaga's character portrays what it means to struggle as an artist. Her character is both deeply personal and a tribute to every artist who has gone before her. She struggles with image in the movie. When she says in the film, "I feel ugly," she's been quoted as saying that she wasn't acting. That was real. That's something she struggles with every single day of her life. She's been told over and over and over again, your nose is too big, you have to get a surgery, you have to change your face. The level of talent you have in this industry just doesn't matter unless you change who you are. And that's the message she was just getting over and over and over in her life. And all of a sudden, as an audience to Gaga, you start to understand the depth of the theatrics and the costuming and the spectacle that is created to essentially hide her face. Cooper wanted Gaga to identify with the character, but also be an actual reflection of who she was as a person. She's incredibly talented, and if you don't know that already, just watch the movie, you'll know now. I think I think people really have no idea. The first time you meet Gaga in the movie is a tribute to her early days performing in drag bars in Manhattan's Lower East Side. She's totally glammed up for the performances, but within the first few scenes, she's completely stripped down. So she loses the fancy hair, she loses the makeup, she loses the costumes, and she looks like a completely normal person. It's a Gaga that none of us have seen before, and it's literally just her and her voice. I feel like I was seeing her for the first time, honestly. Both my husband and I were struck by how beautiful she truly was, and it just created this like sadness in my heart to see someone so beautiful and talented being crushed by the world around her. I think she's a living example of the reality that each of us faces in life. We're all told at some point, you know, we're not good enough, we're not talented enough, we're not smart enough, we're not beautiful enough. But at some point, you just have to decide you are enough. And despite everything, you know, you have a voice that deserves to be heard, you have a face that deserves to be seen, you have a heart that deserves to be loved. And it's really only in our ability to get past our own demons, as I think Gaga did in this film, that the world can truly see who you are. Cooper plays a struggling musician who is battling addiction with drugs, with alcohol, with pills. This is a struggle he has had in his own life, and he's able to portray his character in a very personal way. Each of us has struggled or seen someone we love lose the person they are inside to addiction. The reality of the hurt associated with addiction comes across very clearly in the film. The film is about loss. Every single one of us has had great losses in our life, people close to us who have either left our lives or passed away, and sometimes these people are gone and we're able to say goodbye and we're able to find the closure that we need, but there's other times where we're left with deep regret, things we wish we would have said, things that we wish we would have done. But mostly, I think, you know, the film is about love. It's about great love. It's about true love. We see the joy and we see the good times, but we also see the pain and we see the hurt. We see the sacrifices that people make for love. I think one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie is when Gaga is confronted by choosing the love of her husband or the love of her career and her fame and her popularity and really everything she has worked for her entire life. And she knows what she's, you know, sacrificing, and I think you can see that very clearly as the viewer. But at the end of the day, you know, when all the glitz and all the glam and all the lights go down, you still have to sit there with your heart and the decisions that you have made. And I think we see a Gaga who knows better, and she chooses him, and you know she'll choose him every single time. Because ultimately, what is life without love? So, if you haven't figured it out yet, go and see the movie, and if you've already seen it, go and see it again. Truly, it's a beautiful story and you won't regret the viewing. I've attached several article links below that will give you a more in-depth look at the movie. The DVD and Blu-ray release date is February 19th of this year. You can pre-order a copy now. The DVD is retailing for $17.99 and the Blu-ray is retailing for $24.99. If you didn't download the soundtrack 5 minutes after you left the movie like I did, the CD is retailing for $13.46 and the vinyl is retailing for $32.50. If you're a musician like me and have been dying for the music book to come out, it is finally available. Individual songs are available for immediate download on musicnotes.com. Otherwise, individual sheet music is retailing for $3.99, or the full movie soundtrack book is available for $24.68, and I personally cannot wait to get my hands on it. If you are A Star is Born obsessed, I also created some additional links with other available merch, such as t-shirts, posters, pictures, that kind of thing. So again, links to all that stuff is below. Check it out if you are interested. If you enjoyed the video today, please give us a thumbs up. Sound off below. Let our musical community know in the comment section what you thought of the movie, how it inspired you. If you have additional merch links that we can further obsess over A Star is Born, please include them. Be sure you're subscribed to our channel for all things music. Ring the bell to be notified of all upcoming videos. We hope you enjoy the movie. Thanks for watching. Bye.